It didn't happen like in the movies, with candlelight or slow music, just silence. A long, loaded stare across a fire pit, and then the almost whispered suggestion from my beautiful, vivacious neighbor, her husband watching us both. In that moment, something inside me, something starved for years, didn't just crack, it answered. Welcome to Hidden Love Stories. Today, we navigate a story where the quiet chill of a neglected marriage meets the intoxicating warmth of an unexpected and perhaps forbidden connection with not one, but two people. When does loneliness become a hunger too strong to ignore? If you've ever felt unseen or yearned for a spark in the most unexpected places, this narrative might resonate deeply. Your likes and subscriptions help us continue to explore these raw human experiences. Please be mindful. The themes are mature and explore complex emotional choices. I'm 35, a mother of two boys. Most days I don't recognize the woman in the mirror, hair perpetually tied up, eyes etched with a weariness that sleep doesn't touch, a body softer, less defined than it used to be. But the change isn't just superficial, it's a seismic shift deep inside. I used to laugh without thinking, a genuine, unburdened sound. Now, every smile feels rehearsed, a performance for a life that no longer feels like my own. My husband, Mark, isn't a cruel man. He's just absent. His work as a regional sales manager keeps him perpetually traveling. Even when he's physically home, his mind is elsewhere, lost in spreadsheets and quarterly reports. He sleeps in the guest room now, has for over a year, says I snore, maybe I do. But a painful, insistent part of me wonders if he just can't bear the weight of my back against his anymore. The silent accusation of a marriage slowly dying. Since our second child, Leo, was born nearly 5 years ago, we've become more like distant roommates than lovers. Our communication is predominantly through texts about groceries or school pickups. The last time he touched me with anything resembling tenderness without needing something in return, our youngest was probably still in diapers. The intimacy had evaporated, leaving behind a cold, sterile void. Then there's Olivia and Liam, our neighbors. They moved in a couple of years ago. A vibrant young couple, probably early 30s, playful and exuding the kind of effortless warmth that makes any room feel brighter when they enter. They'd often invite us over for impromptu dinners or bonfires in their meticulously kept backyard. Olivia would bring out chilled wine, her laughter infectious. Liam, with his easy grin, would light up the grill, the scent of charcoal and something delicious mingling with the evening air. I'd sit there, wrapped in a borrowed blanket if the night was cool, laughing at their stories, their easy banter, and pretending I didn't notice the way they glanced at each other like lovesick teenagers, their fingers often brushing. And I'd definitely pretend not to notice the way Liam's gaze sometimes lingered on me when he thought Olivia wasn't looking, a fleeting warmth that was both unsettling and shamefully thrilling. Or the way Olivia's hand sometimes touched my arm when she laughed, the contact lasting just a fraction of a second too long, sending a jolt through my starved system. I told myself it was nothing, a figment of my lonely imagination. That no one, especially not attractive, happy people like them, looks at a tired mother of two, 5 years into a dormant marriage, like that. But the more time we spent together, 4 of us in their cozy orbit, the harder it became to ignore the subtle, charged shift in the atmosphere whenever I walked into their house. The way Liam always seemed to pour my wine first, his eyes meeting mine over the rim of the glass. The way Olivia always managed to sit just a little too close on their plush outdoor sofa, her leg occasionally, innocently pressed against mine. They made me feel like I was part of something, not just background noise in my own life, not the invisible woman I'd become in my own home. And I didn't realize how desperately I'd missed that feeling of being truly seen until it was right there, palpable and intoxicating, in front of me. I smiled on the outside, played the part of the content wife and friend, but inside I was starving for something I couldn't or wouldn't dare to name. I didn't know then that one night I'd wish for their eyes on me, truly on me, and I'd want them to see everything. It started, as these things often do, with a joke, a subtle testing of waters. The kids were finally asleep, mine upstairs in our quiet, cold house, theirs tucked into their guest room after an evening of shared chaos. The fire pit in their backyard was glowing low, embers pulsing like a sleepy heart, wine bottles half empty on the rustic wooden table. We were all sunk deep into the plush patio cushions, a comfortable languor settling over us. Olivia leaned back, looking at me with that teasing, intelligent grin she wore so well, and said, her voice a low purr, "We should play something a little more grown up sometime." Liam laughed first, a rich, easy sound. My husband, Mark, chuckled too, that kind of nervous, uncertain laugh people use when they're not sure if something is truly a joke or a veiled invitation. I smiled, a weak imitation of ease, but I looked away towards the flickering flames. Olivia didn't elaborate. She didn't need to. The conversation eventually meandered elsewhere, but the air felt different, charged. That comment, it lingered, clinging to me like the scent of wood smoke in my hair hours after I'd gone home. A few nights later, it came up again. Same setup. Late evening, kids asleep, a comfortable quiet, different tone. This time, Olivia poured the wine slower, her movements deliberate. Her eyes held mine just a little longer than necessary. "We were serious, you know," she said, a half smile playing on her lips that didn't quite reach the depths of her voice, making it all the more intriguing. "About playing something different." I laughed again, but it was a different laugh this time, less about dismissing her words, more about acknowledging the undercurrent. Something about the way she said "we," so inclusive, so conspiratorial, sent a shiver down my spine. Mark was, as usual, scrolling on his phone, oblivious, not even looking up. Liam, though, he was watching, not in a creepy, predatory way, just noticing. Observing the exchange with a quiet intensity. And maybe that was the real danger, how utterly safe, how disarmingly normal their attention felt. The next morning, I stared at myself in the bathroom mirror for longer than usual. I actually brushed on mascara, a relic from a past life, put on earrings I hadn't touched in months. That night, when we were invited over again, I changed outfits twice, finally settling on a dark blue dress that hugged my curves a little tighter than anything I usually wore around the house, or even out. Mark didn't say a word, didn't even seem to register the effort. But when I walked into Olivia and Liam's warm, inviting kitchen, Liam did. "Wow, Sarah, you look really nice," he said, his voice a little rough. That's all. But it hit somewhere deep, a forgotten nerve ending suddenly alive. Olivia just smiled, that knowing, enigmatic smile, poured me a generous glass of wine, and handed it to me like it was part of some unspoken, preordained rhythm we'd all effortlessly fallen into. After dinner, when the dishes were cleared and the music shifted to something low and bluesy, Olivia brought it up again, her voice a silken thread in the dim light. "Ever played truth or dare with absolutely no rules, Sarah?" Everyone laughed, the sound soft in the cozy atmosphere. I laughed too. But inside, my heart wasn't laughing. It was hammering, wondering what the dare would be, wondering why my pulse raced so fast just hearing her say the words. And when I risked a glance across the fire at Liam, he was already looking at me, his gaze steady, unreadable, yet intensely focused. It felt harmless, that exchange, just a look, a thought. A shared, silent secret held in the flickering firelight. But secrets, I was learning, don't stay small. They grow teeth and hunger. And one day, they demand to be fed. I kept telling myself it was nothing, just harmless flirting, a game adults play when they're bored or curious or a little too tipsy. I had kids, a husband, however distant, a house that still smelled faintly of baby shampoo and the ever-present scent of half-folded laundry. I had a life, a responsible, respectable life, but God, I was starving, not for drama, not even explicitly for sex, though the drought in my marriage was an undeniable ache. I was starving for touch, yes, but more than that, for the thrill of being desired, for someone to notice me, not because I was out of milk or late for school pickup, but because I was a woman. I wanted to feel like a woman again, vibrant and alive, not just someone's tired mom, not just someone's increasingly invisible wife. One night, after another shared dinner, Olivia leaned in close while our husbands were engrossed in some tedious discussion about football stats. Her breath was warm against my ear, smelling faintly of red wine and something floral. "We don't mind sharing, you know," she whispered, her voice a low caress. "If it makes things less lonely for you." I managed a laugh, but it caught in my throat, a strangled sound. Was she joking? Or was that a genuine, explicit invitation into their world, into their bed? I didn't ask. I didn't want to know the answer, not then, but I thought about it. Oh, I thought about it a lot. It sat in the back of my mind like a secret, locked drawer I wasn't supposed to open. Until one night, a few weeks later, I did. The kids were asleep, their breathing soft and even from their rooms. Mark had passed out early, as he often did, headphones in, his back turned to my side of the bed, a silent, unbreachable wall, and my phone lit up on the nightstand. A text from Olivia. "We're in the hot tub. Come over if you can. No pressure, no emojis, no winks." Just that. My hands trembled as I picked up the phone. I sat there for what felt like 10 minutes, staring at the screen, the words glowing in the darkness like a dare. I thought about my kids upstairs, their tiny pajamas laid out for school the next day, their innocent, trusting faces. I thought about Mark snoring softly in the other room, about how we hadn't truly kissed, not with any passion, in what felt like 3 long, desolate months. And then I thought about Olivia, her knowing smile, her easy laughter, likely submerged to her shoulders in the warm, steaming water, and Liam, shirtless perhaps, his eyes glinting in the low deck lights. Wine glasses sweating on the edge of the tub. And for once, just for once, I didn't want to think anymore. I just moved. I slipped out of bed, my feet cold on the hardwood floor, pulled on a silk robe, the one I rarely wore, walked barefoot down the hall, a ghost in my own home. And I went, in silence, without a word to anyone. The night air was cool, crisp, but the water in their hot tub was a welcoming, enveloping warmth. Steam curled above the surface like breath from something alive, primal. They were already in, Olivia with her dark hair piled loosely on top of her head, a few errant tendrils clinging to her damp neck. Liam bare-chested, leaning back against the jets, looking like this was just another perfectly ordinary evening. I slipped in quietly, the water sighing around me. "Couldn't stay away?" Olivia murmured, her eyes soft, her smile gentle. Liam just watched me, a silent acknowledgement. She handed me a glass of wine. Music hummed low from a speaker on the deck, something slow, bluesy, something that made the silence feel thicker, more intentional. For a while, we just talked. About nothing important, about everything. Laughter echoing softly under the vast, starlit sky, as if none of us had anything in the world to lose. Then Liam's leg brushed against mine under the water, just barely, a fleeting electric contact. But it didn't move away, neither did I. Olivia watched us, her lips curved into that knowing smile. Not the kind of smile that asks for permission, the kind that already knows the answer, that revels in the anticipation. I went home an hour later, climbing into bed beside Mark. His back to me, as always. My skin was still warm from the heated water, tingling from more than just the jets. My heart was a frantic drum against my ribs, louder than it should have been. After that night, I started going over more often, always late, always when Mark was working late or had passed out early. Sometimes it was just me and Olivia, sharing secrets and wine like clandestine sisters. Sometimes, though less often, just Liam, our conversations more stilted, yet charged with an unspoken current. But most nights, it was all three of us. Nothing explicitly physical happened beyond those fleeting, charged touches. Not yet. But the conversations got slower, deeper. The eye contact, longer, more meaningful. Touches started to linger, a hand on an arm, a brush of fingers. Liam would pour my drink before anyone else's, his gaze lingering. Olivia would compliment the way my old sweater clung to my waist, her eyes appreciative. It was subtle, but constant, a carefully orchestrated dance of seduction. They made me feel like I was becoming someone again. Not the mom who couldn't button her pre-baby jeans, not the wife who cried silently in the laundry room, just me. Whole, seen, desired. The lines of friendship, neighborliness, and something far more dangerous were blurring with every shared glance, every hushed conversation. How long can such a delicate, forbidden dance last before someone makes a definitive move? If this story of simmering tension and unspoken desires has you captivated, join us on Hidden Love Stories by subscribing and liking this video. You won't want to miss how this unfolds. One night, Olivia leaned in while Liam was inside fetching more candles, her voice barely above a whisper, a silken caress in the dim light of their patio. "You don't have to pretend with us, you know, Sarah." I didn't ask what she meant. I didn't want to. I just let her words sit there, a heavy, potent secret waiting to be claimed. I started fantasizing about being wanted with an intensity that had been absent from my life for so long. About being watched, truly seen. Not by the man I married, who no longer seemed to see me at all, but by these two vibrant people who made me feel like I still mattered, like I could still be desirable, beautiful, alive. Without explanation, without apology. And that's when Olivia said it, her voice calm, certain. As Liam returned and sat beside her, his arm draping naturally over her shoulders, both their gazes fixed on me. "We want to watch you, Sarah. And we think you want to be seen." And I didn't say no. I couldn't. The admission, the desire was a living thing inside me now, too powerful to deny. The storm came without warning later that week, one of those nights where the sky split open without apology, rain hitting the windows like angry fists wanting in. Mark was away on another work trip. I was already at Olivia and Liam's house. I'd offered to help. Their youngest had a slight fever, and mine had artistically redecorated their couch with grape juice. Chaos as usual. But by the time the last lullaby had been sung and all the tiny limbs were tucked safely into bed, the house fell into a profound, echoing stillness. The lights flickered once, twice, then cut out completely. Darkness wrapped everything in a sudden, intimate hush. Olivia lit candles, their flickering flames casting dancing shadows on the walls. Liam brought out a bottle of expensive-looking wine. "Been saving this for something special," he said, his voice a low rumble in the dark. We sat on the floor in their living room, our backs against the plush couch, the storm raging outside a counterpoint to the quiet intimacy within. There was no music this time, just the distant roll of thunder and the sound of our commingled breathing. Olivia poured the wine slowly, deliberately. Her hand brushed mine as she passed me a glass, and then she didn't pull away, her fingers interlaced with mine for a charged moment. She leaned in, her face close, so close I could feel the warmth of her breath, smell the faint, intoxicating scent of her perfume mixed with wine. She didn't ask, she didn't need to. Her lips touched mine, soft at first, then with a growing pressure, like she was remembering something we'd never actually done, yet had both fantasized about. I froze. For a single heart-stopping moment, the room spun. My brain screamed, "What are you doing? This is insane." But my body, that traitorous, starved entity, leaned in, responding with a will of its own. It was slow, soft, almost sacred. Liam didn't move from his spot a few feet away. He just watched, his eyes calm in the candlelight, like he'd always known this moment would happen, perhaps had even orchestrated it. Olivia pulled back just slightly, her forehead resting against mine, her breath mingling with mine. I could feel her heart beating through the thin fabric of her shirt, a frantic rhythm that matched my own. My hands, trembling, found hers, our fingers lacing together tightly. We didn't speak. We didn't need to. Their earlier laughter, their easy companionship had faded. Our glances had become touches, and now touches were becoming skin. There was no rush, no pressure. Just a profound, terrifying, exhilarating surrender. It wasn't wild or dirty, it was reverent. Like we'd all been waiting for years, for someone, for anyone to just say yes to the unspoken. And somewhere between the raging storm outside and the echoing silence within, I saw it. In the reflection of a darkened window across the room, illuminated by the flickering candlelight, I saw myself, flanked by them. And I didn't look away. I woke up in my own bed the next morning, sheets tangled around my legs like struggling vines. The house was quiet, save for the distant hum of the fridge and a lone bird tapping insistently at the window pane. For a disorienting moment, I wondered if it had all been a dream. If I'd imagined the candlelight, the shared wine, Kay's, no, Olivia's kiss, the way Liam's eyes had burned into me, the way skin had felt like a desperate, silent confession. But I could still smell the faint, lingering scent of chlorine from their hot tub on my arms from nights before, still feel the phantom curve of Olivia's hand on my ribs. And something deeper, more profound, had shifted within me, like a part of me had slipped out of my grasp the night before and hadn't quite found its way back in. My phone lit up on the nightstand. One message from Olivia. "We're still your friends, Sarah." No regrets. I stared at it for a long, long time, not knowing if I should feel relief or a fresh wave of rage or just a hollow, echoing nothingness. Downstairs, I made coffee, automatically pouring 2 mugs as I always did, before remembering Mark was away. He came home later that day, his flight having been delayed by the storm. He kissed my forehead, a rare, almost forgotten gesture. First time in months. I nearly spilled the coffee, my hand shaking. Later that week, Olivia and Liam invited us over again. A backyard barbecue, kids laughing, the grill smoking, the world turning on its axis as if nothing extraordinary, nothing life-altering had transpired. Olivia waved from across the yard, her smile bright and easy, as if she hadn't explored the contours of my mouth just nights before. Liam nodded once, a brief, almost formal acknowledgement, but he didn't meet my eyes, not once. I spent the entire evening trying not to look too long in any one direction, terrified of what my own eyes might betray. Mark, oblivious, placed his hand on the small of my back while we stood in line for drinks, a casual, possessive touch, barely there. And I flinched, just for a second, an involuntary recoil, but it was enough for me to feel it. The difference, the chasm, the distance. Nothing exploded, no dramatic fights, no tearful confessions. No questions asked, just silence. And silence, I've learned with a terrible clarity, is its own kind of storm, capable of eroding foundations just as surely as any tempest. I still wash the same dishes, fold the same laundry, tuck the same little bodies into bed at night with the same familiar lullabies. But I'm not the same. Something in me cracked open that night in the candlelight, and I haven't been able to close it, to seal it shut. I didn't leave my husband. I didn't pack a bag or scream accusations or beg for more from anyone. I stayed. I smiled through PTA meetings. I held Mark's hand in public when the occasion demanded it. I listened when he spoke, or rather, when he occasionally addressed words in my general direction. Nodded in all the right places, even managed a laugh or two that sounded almost genuine, but I wasn't really there. Not all of me, because a significant, vital piece of me was still in that darkened room, in that intoxicating flicker of candlelight, with their eyes on me, wanting. And me, finally, desperately, wanting to be seen. I don't know if I betrayed my marriage that night, or if I just remembered, with a sudden, breathtaking clarity, what it meant to feel truly, undeniably alive. There was no grand plan, no deliberate decision plotted out in advance, just a moment, an opening, a possibility. And in that moment, I said yes. Not with words, because words were too clumsy, too inadequate, but with my breath held and then released, with the stillness of my body. With the way I didn't pull away from Olivia's kiss. With the way I let their collective gaze unwrap me, layer by fragile layer, like I was something precious, something worth opening, something worth exploring. I didn't chase them afterward. I didn't confess to Mark. I didn't seek to destroy the carefully constructed house of my life, the one I'd built with my own weary hands. But I did open a door that night, a door I never knew existed within me, and I walked through it into an unknown, electrifying landscape. And now, even when everything on the surface looks the same, the floors mopped, the bills paid, dinner made, and on the table, I feel different. Not better necessarily, not worse. Just irrevocably different. They wanted to watch, and I wish the same. Is that so wrong? Or is it just devastatingly, terrifyingly honest? Have you ever wanted something, not because it was right, not because it made any logical sense, but because, in that singular, suspended moment, it made you feel intensely, undeniably real? I'm not asking for approval. I'm not even asking for forgiveness. I just want to know I'm not the only one. The only one who's ever looked around at a perfectly built life. The kids, the car, the calendar crammed with plans, and still felt a profound, echoing hollowness inside. Still felt that persistent, gnawing ache to be truly seen, to be chosen. Not out of duty or obligation, but out of raw, unadulterated desire. Have you ever reached for something or someone, knowing it might hurt, knowing it could shatter worlds, but did it anyway because you were already hurting so profoundly in the crushing silence of your own life? Share your truth in the comments, not for me, for you. Sometimes speaking our hidden stories out loud, even into the anonymity of the internet, is the only way we begin to survive them. If this story stirred something deep inside you, if it made you remember, or question, or simply feel, then don't keep that silence to yourself. Like this story. Subscribe to Hidden Love Stories, where silence so often turns into stories too heavy, too complex to carry alone. Tap that notification bell. The next tale we share might just echo something you've never dared to say aloud, a secret you thought was yours alone.